Let me be direct with you. What happened at an airbase in this region approximately 1 hour ago is being described in the first wave coverage as an airstrike. The headlines are saying 12 aircraft were destroyed on the ground. Some outlets are already moving on to the diplomatic response, the condemnations, the Emergency Security Council consultations. But all of it is beside the point. The point is not that 12 aircraft were destroyed. Aircraft have been destroyed in this conflict before. The point is which aircraft were destroyed and what the fact of their destruction on the ground tells us about a surveillance and targeting capability that represents the most serious intelligence failure associated with stealth technology since the F-117 was shot down over Serbia in 1999. I want you to understand what I am about to explain carefully, because it is going to require setting aside a foundational assumption that the American defense establishment has built 20 years of acquisition strategy and operational doctrine upon. The assumption is this: a stealth aircraft on the ground at a hardened air base inside an air defense perimeter, protected by active counter-drone systems and hardened shelter infrastructure, is not targetable with the precision required to destroy it without destroying the shelter and the surrounding infrastructure as well. That assumption, as of approximately 1 hour ago, is no longer operative. And the reason it is no longer operative tells us something about Iranian signals intelligence that changes the operational picture in this theater in a way that the coverage you will see today will not explain. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to walk you through the targeting intelligence question. How do you find and precisely strike 12 specific aircraft in hardened shelters? The delivery mechanism question, which is not what you think, and the strategic implications question, which is the one that nobody in Washington wants to have in public. Subscribe now if you have not already, because what we are covering here is the most significant single event targeting achievement in the history of unconventional military operations in this region, and the analysis that matters is buried under the outrage. Let us begin with what we know about the location and the context. The airbase in question, and I am being deliberately careful here about specifics that are still in the process of being confirmed, operates a mixed fleet that includes F-35 Ayadir variants, which is the Israeli-specific configuration of the Lockheed Martin F-35A with modifications including additional electronic warfare systems and domestic avionics integration. The F-35I is the most advanced strike aircraft in the Israeli Air Force's inventory. It is also, by design, one of the most difficult aircraft in the world to track, target, and destroy. Not just in the air, where its low observable characteristics make it exceptionally difficult to acquire on radar, but on the ground, where its maintenance requirements, its sensitivity to dust and temperature, and its operational scheduling create patterns that are supposed to be closely held. The word supposed is doing a lot of work in that sentence. According to Israeli Channel 12, which broke the initial report, and confirmed by additional reporting from the Times of Israel, the strike occurred during what would normally be a maintenance window, a period when multiple aircraft are simultaneously on the ground in their shelters for scheduled servicing. The simultaneous presence of 12 aircraft in their shelters during a maintenance window is not a coincidence or a scheduling failure. It is an operational pattern. Maintenance windows happen. They happen on schedules. Those schedules, if they can be observed and analyzed over time, reveal a pattern that can be exploited. And exploiting it requires exactly two things: the intelligence capability to observe the pattern and the precision strike capability to act on it within the window. Subscribe if you are watching this and realizing that the coverage you have been following is not asking the question of how those two things came together at this particular moment at this particular airbase. That question is the story. Announcement number 1. The targeting intelligence for this strike required a signals collection capability that Iran is not supposed to have at operational scale. This is the part that the defense establishment in Washington is going to be most reluctant to discuss publicly, and with good reason, because discussing it honestly requires acknowledging a gap in the assessment of Iranian intelligence capabilities that has been closed, apparently, in the wrong direction. Locating and precisely striking F-35s in hardened shelters is not a matter of knowing the general location of an airbase. Every intelligence service in the world knows where Israeli air bases are. The targeting precision required to destroy 12 aircraft in 12 separate shelters, and the strike pattern emerging from the damage assessments indicates individual shelter targeting, not area effect bombardment, requires knowing which shelter each aircraft is in at the time of the strike, which shelter is occupied and which is not, and the precise structural weak points of each hardened aircraft shelter that make a precision penetrating strike most effective. That is not general intelligence. That is current, precise, facility-level intelligence with a targeting resolution that implies either human intelligence inside the base perimeter, persistent overhead surveillance, or signals intelligence of a kind that captures operational scheduling communications in real time. According to Dr. Uzi Rubin, former head of Israel's Missile Defense Organization and one of the most credible independent voices on Israeli air defense architecture, writing in a preliminary analysis published this morning on the Begin Sadat Center website, the pattern of the strike indicates targeting intelligence of a quality that exceeds any previously demonstrated Iranian ISR capability by a significant margin. That is a technical way of saying, we did not think they could do this. They did it! The intelligence collection method that best fits the evidence, the timing, the specificity, the shelter-level precision, is persistent signals intelligence exploitation of maintenance coordination communications. The F-35's maintenance scheduling involves significant digital communication between ground crew, logistics systems, and operational command. If those communications can be intercepted and decoded, or if the metadata of those communications rather than the content reveals the pattern, the scheduling window becomes visible to an adversary with the collection architecture to see it. Iran has been building signals intelligence collection capability for a decade. The assessment of how far that capability has developed has, as of this morning, been revised significantly upward by every intelligence service in every country that operates or plans to operate F-35s. Received. That is announcement number 1. Announcement number 2. The delivery system used in this strike is not what the initial reporting suggests. This matters because the identification of the delivery system is the intelligence thread that leads back to the supply chain, and the supply chain tells you about the manufacturing and logistical capability behind this attack. The initial reports have described the strike in terms consistent with ballistic missile delivery, but the shelter-level precision that the damage pattern indicates is inconsistent with the circular error probable of any ballistic missile in Iran's known inventory, including the Fatah series at the relevant ranges. Ballistic missiles are accurate. Precision ballistic missiles are very accurate, but the accuracy required to place a penetrating warhead through the specific vulnerable point of a hardened aircraft shelter, a reinforced concrete structure designed to withstand near-miss detonations, is at or beyond the limits of ballistic precision even with terminal guidance correction. What the damage pattern is more consistent with, and this is based on analysis from 2 former U.S. Air Force weapons systems officers who spoke anonymously to Breaking Defense in the past hour, is a penetrating cruise missile with active terminal guidance. A weapon that uses a combination of GPS, inertial navigation, and terminal optical or radar guidance to place its warhead within centimeters of a designated impact point. Iran's Hoveza cruise missile, publicly unveiled in 2019, has a published range of approximately 1,350 kilometers. Its precision has been assessed by Western analysts as significantly better than Iran's ballistic systems. And the Hoveza has been in continued development since 2019, with multiple upgraded variants that have not been publicly disclosed. If the strike used a cruise missile variant that has not been publicly acknowledged, that is a second capability surprise in a single event. A targeting intelligence surprise combined with a delivery system surprise. 2 surprises simultaneously. That combination tells you something important about the state of Iranian weapons development that the intelligence assessments have been systematically underweighting. Stay with me because this is where it gets to the question that changes everything. Announcement number 3. The destruction of 12 F-35s in a single strike is not primarily a military loss. It is a deterrence loss, and the deterrence loss is significantly larger than the hardware loss. Here is why that distinction matters. Israel operates approximately 50 F-35 Adir aircraft in its active inventory, with additional aircraft in various stages of delivery from Lockheed Martin. 12 aircraft is a significant percentage of that fleet, approximately 24% of the active total. That is a real operational setback. It will take time and significant expense to replace. But the Israeli Air Force retains substantial combat capability. The military loss, while serious, is manageable. The deterrence loss is different in kind. The F-35 has served a specific deterrence function in Israeli strategic thinking. It is the aircraft that can strike hardened targets in Iran. It is the platform whose stealth characteristics are supposed to make it survivable against Iranian air defenses. And it is the platform whose operational security was supposed to make it invulnerable to preemptive targeting on the ground. If the F-35 can be found in its shelter and destroyed before it flies, if its operational security is penetrable with the intelligence and precision delivery combination demonstrated this morning, then the deterrence value of the remaining fleet in the minds of Iranian strategic planners has been permanently and significantly reduced. That is a deterrence loss. And deterrence losses do not repair themselves when replacement aircraft arrive. They repair themselves only when the capability that defeated the deterrence is itself neutralized or when a new deterrence architecture is established. Neither of those things happens quickly. Now let us talk about what the mainstream coverage is getting completely backwards. The coverage is framing this as a story about Israeli vulnerability. Israel has suffered a serious blow. Israel's most advanced aircraft were caught on the ground. The question being asked is whether Israel can recover. These are real questions, but they are the wrong first question because they assume that the significance of this event is primarily about Israeli capability. It is not. The significance is primarily about what it reveals about Iranian capability and about the gap between assessed and actual Iranian capability that this morning has exposed. The American response has been rapid and strong. The White House issued a statement within an hour. The Pentagon activated additional readiness protocols. The State Department summoned relevant ambassadors. All of this is the expected and politically necessary response. But here is what the American response does not address. The United States Air Force also operates F-35s. It operates them in bases across the region. And the same intelligence collection capability that found and fixed 12 F-35s on a maintenance schedule at an Israeli air base this morning is, by definition, capable of attempting the same analysis against any other F-35 operating base that its collection architecture can reach. The American defense establishment is now conducting exactly that vulnerability assessment. The results of that assessment are not going to be shared publicly, but the fact that it is being conducted this morning is itself a data point. European governments have been cautious in their public statements. NATO has issued a statement of solidarity, but the private consultations happening within NATO defense establishments right now are focused on a single question. If Iranian signals intelligence can locate and fix F-35s through maintenance scheduling communications, what does that mean for the operational security of F-35 deployments across every NATO member that operates or plans to operate the platform? That is 15 countries. It is a very crowded private consultation. The history of military aviation offers a precise parallel to what is happening this morning. In July 1940, the German Luftwaffe began the Battle of Britain with what appeared to be overwhelming numerical and technical superiority over the Royal Air Force. The RAF was outnumbered. Its aircraft, though capable, were facing a well-trained and operationally experienced opponent. The standard assessment was that RAF Fighter Command would be defeated within weeks. What changed the outcome was not additional aircraft. What changed the outcome was radar. The British chain-home radar network gave Fighter Command the ability to vector its aircraft to where they were needed before the Luftwaffe arrived. The Germans knew the radar towers existed. They occasionally targeted them, but they never fully understood that the radar was the strategic vulnerability that stood between them and air superiority, and so they never committed to destroying the network completely. The parallel to this morning is structural. Iran has demonstrated a targeting intelligence capability, a form of electronic and signals awareness, that achieves what radar achieved for Fighter Command, the ability to find and fix a specific asset at a specific location within a specific time window with the precision required to act on that information. The question being asked in every defense ministry watching this morning is the same question the Luftwaffe failed to answer in 1940. How do you defeat not the asset but the intelligence system that finds the asset? That question does not have an easy answer. And the countries that find it first will have a significant strategic advantage over those that find it second. So where does this leave us? Path 1, rapid operational security overhaul across all F-35 operating bases, combined with accelerated counterintelligence operations targeting whatever collection architecture Iran used to fix this morning's targets. This path treats the intelligence failure as solvable through better communication security protocols and more aggressive counterintelligence. It is the path that defense institutions know how to pursue. I assess it as necessary but insufficient, because the collection method may not be dependent on communications that can be secured. It may be based on physical observation patterns that are inherent to the aircraft's maintenance requirements. Path 2. Significant Israeli retaliatory strike against Iranian aviation and signals intelligence infrastructure. In this scenario, the F-35 losses are treated as requiring a response that targets the capability that enabled the strike: Iran's signals intelligence facilities, its cruise missile manufacturing infrastructure, its targeting coordination centers. This path risks escalation into a comprehensive air campaign and carries significant uncertainty about whether it successfully neutralizes the collection capability or merely damages the infrastructure around it. I assess this as the path under the greatest domestic Israeli political pressure and the path most likely to produce unintended escalatory consequences. Path 3. The intelligence failure this morning becomes a catalyst for a broader diplomatic reassessment. In this scenario, the demonstration of Iranian precision targeting capability against stealth aircraft, a capability previously assessed as beyond Iran's reach, prompts a reassessment in Washington and Tel Aviv of what a sustained military campaign against Iran would actually cost. That reassessment, combined with the diplomatic frameworks that have been in preparation through Qatari, Omani, and Chinese channels, produces a political environment in which de-escalation becomes more achievable than it was 24 hours ago. I assess this as the strategically rational path and the one that is hardest to reach given the domestic political pressures on all sides. Here are the questions to take with you. How long did Iran have access to F-35 maintenance scheduling communications before it acted on that access? What does this morning's intelligence capability demonstration mean for every other country operating F-35s in a theater where Iranian signals collection might reach? And if the deterrence value of the F-35 as a strike platform against Iranian strategic targets has been reduced by this morning's events, what does Israel's deterrence architecture look like when the political pressure for a response is at its peak? Tell me in the comments what you think the Israeli response looks like in the next 48 hours. Tell me if you think the NATO consultation that is happening right now changes the American posture, and in which direction. We will be tracking the damage assessments, the signals intelligence analysis, and the diplomatic back channels because that is what this channel does every single day. Subscribe now. Share this analysis with everyone in your network who is trying to understand what this morning actually means. Turn on notifications. We will see you in the next one.